Okay, now in this tutorial, we're going to take a look specifically at some of those geographical data points. This isn't necessarily going to be used in your first round data set, but it might be used in your second round data set, so that you'll receive on the day of the competition. So I want to make sure that I address it. Actually, the geography type of visualizations are actually some of my favorites. So I really do enjoy this particular piece of it. Okay, so I've got that same data set, that sample data set that we've been working with, and I have that completely cleared out. So we're starting from scratch here. It's already connected. And we're going to pull over one of those geographical data points. So I'm actually going to pull over my ship state. So I'm going to take my ship state and I'm going to drag and drop it after a few moments of thinking. What we're going to see is that Tableau is basically going to put a dot on every state. And of course, my filter is taken off. So I also may have potentially some, not US options. But for right now, we're just going to deal with the states. And if I want to, on my Mac, if I want to kind of scroll, I have to make sure I'm pressing the shift button when I do that. So I've got that. Now we have the grouping. Remember our US region grouping? So if I completely exited out, didn't save anything, that grouping won't be there anymore. I just did a clear on my data last time, so that was fine. I already still have my US region in there, but I want to pull that into my color, because remember, and actually I'm just going to remind everyone, we're just going to edit the groups. We can see, like, for example, South Central, I've got West Virginia, Tennessee, Mississippi. Some of these I kind of just did from memory, so they may not be the real groupings, but or official US groupings, but certainly that's the beauty of this. It's what I want to make of it. So if they're not 100% right, it's no big deal, but that's essentially what we're doing here. So I'm going to take that US region with the groupings that I've already done and I've put into color. And now you can see what's happened here. The dots have all basically changed color. And we can tell actually just by looking at these that it's been done correctly. So each color represents a different grouping of states. And so we can see here, actually, let me make it a little bit larger here for you. I'll scroll over. We can see, like, for example, what I've classified as New England is actually all in this like aqua color. What I've classified as, what did I classify as? South Atlantic is all like in a purpley color. So basically the South, anything that touches the Atlantic Ocean. The Mid-Atlantic, PA, New Jersey, Delaware, and New York, those are all in like a navy blue color. So we can see, how I've actually grouped those. We also can see here that there are 22 unknown pieces of data that when I actually dragged my state over into the workspace to begin with, Tableau wasn't able to actually plot those. So if I want to see what those are, and I'm just going to click 22 unknowns, my guess is they're probably the non-US areas. And let's see. Yep, that's correct. So we've got the military locations. We've got England, Canada. I don't know how to say this, but that's Japan. We've got a bunch of UK. We've got null, which is blank. We've got a bunch of Canadian provinces. And so we recognize that that's probably not correct. Now, I will say, actually, let me go back before I do this. If I wanted to edit my locations here, if this was a case of a misspelling, for example, like maybe AA is really supposed to be AR for Arkansas, right? And I just did a typo. I would be able to actually take a look and actually match that up with something. Now, ideally, I'd want to go and fix it, but for purposes of this, I could actually match something up if need be. But I don't want to worry about this. because I'm only looking at the US. So I'm hiding that. I don't want there to be anything unknown showing. So I'm actually going to pull that out. Actually, let me go back. Let me bring this back. What I want to do, I want to actually, let's filter my data. And I want to filter, let's see, edit filter. Actually, no, I don't want to do that. That's not going to work the way I thought it would. So I might want to say US only, but we kind of already have that. But I could do the ship country into my filter and we could just pick US only. Okay. So that takes out the other piece of it. If I want to put my ship state and I want to take out AA, AE, AP, and I think there was one more. Let me see. That might be the only one. I think that might be it. So I could hit okay. Yep. And there my US military goes away. So now I'm truly looking at just my states, right? So that's good. That's what I want. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Trying to move my mouse here. There we go. My computer's getting a little stuck on me. So I can see now that I have my regions kind of color coded. Remember, I could edit the colors if I would like to. So I can hit edit colors and maybe I don't want automatic. Maybe I want summer color, or no, let's do summer colors. So I can assign that palette. The color assignment has more colors in the color palette. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that I actually have more color. I need more colors than what that color palette has. So no, I don't want to continue because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 colors that we need, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 colors only available in this color palette. That's not going to work for us. So let's look at Jewel Bright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That should be okay for us. So we'll pick that one just to make it kind of pretty and bright. And so we can see that we've changed that a little bit. So we've been able to do that. So maybe though, this is, remember, just showing me, and honestly, I will say that I don't think this is the greatest color palette for this because some of these like blend in a bit, but it's okay because we're just doing this for illustration purpose. But maybe I want to see the, let's say the total, well, let's say we'll just say the total number of items sold in that particular state. And again, remember, this is aggregating the years, so it's everything combined. So I'm going to pull number of items actually into the size area. And so now what happens, first off, we get this key here, which I'm actually going to get rid of because it's not particularly meaningful. Actually, no, let me edit the sizes here. So I can actually, they're actually automatically picking the sizes based on the numbers that are available. I can change that if I want. I'm not going to, but certainly if that made sense for the visualization that I want it to do, I could. But we can see what happened here by pulling in the number of items sold into the size area. We've got a bunch of the dots got really small, like Montana, right? There's only 16 items sold in the history of this particular shop, to Montana, to fairly large like California, again, which would make sense, which has 963. I'm going to do Control Z to go back, get rid of the size, or actually if I want to, or I can Control Y to go back to putting the size. I can also just drag it out if I want to. I like the shortcuts, but let's take that order total instead. Right? So instead of number of items, let's take order total and put that into size. It's fairly similar. It looks like there's not too much difference really between that. Let's try sales tax. Again, we're just playing around here. So sales tax didn't really do anything. Everybody kind of got it. I guess they just don't have anything in the sales tax, which makes sense really to our data set. If we took a look at it, we can look at the shipping. Shipping is really just changing. It's changing to the amount of shipping paid. Again, this makes sense because of the number of items and the number of orders that we just saw previously. And then also it costs a lot more to ship from Pennsylvania to California than it costs to ship from Pennsylvania to Pennsylvania or Pennsylvania to New Jersey. So that certainly makes sense as well. But let's keep it with we'll just stick with what we've been doing. So we'll stay with order total. And so we've got no, I don't want that. Why is it doing that? Oh, because okay, let me show you what I was doing wrong, right? I was like, why is it doing that? And so when I was doing the shipping, I put it into color instead of size, right? And I didn't even realize I did that. I was like, oh, it just filled in, whatever. When I put it into color, it fills in the state. But we want the states to be on color based on their region. So if I'm doing shipping, what I meant to do was put it into size, and I didn't do that. But I like that I did that, because it shows you kind of sometimes what the differences in those things can be. So color fills in, size changes the size of our dots. We can't change the size of the state. But what I meant to do was take that order total and put it into our size. And again, let's take a look at that tooltip. Remember, we had already formatted things previously for currency. So it still is staying in currency. But now I know what state I'm hovering over. I know the region that state belongs to. And now I know the order total for that. But maybe I want to look at, I'm going to get rid of this card here. Maybe I want to look at a different, maybe I don't want the automatic circle. Maybe I want a square. I can change it to a square. Basically the marks, I'm changing the marks. I can change it to a shape, which is really in this case just a not filled in circle. I can change density. I can change it to, some of these don't make sense for this visualization type, but I can certainly do that, which is really also helpful if I want an X to represent one thing and a circle to represent something else. So let me we'll do that in just a moment. So let's now say that I want to basically create a second map. So I'm going to click on the columns longitude, and I'm going to press the shift button, and I'm going to drag, and we'll get a second one. So now I actually have two graphics. We did this already before with a different visualization type, but these are exactly the same. And so here I've got all, which controls both. I've got the longitude, which controls one of them, and another longitude that controls another. So let's try to figure out which one we're actually controlling here. So let's take that sum order total and let's just drag it out. Okay, so that's the second one. So the bottom one now we know is the one that's closer to the right. And let's change from automatic. Let's change to shape. So now we've got the not filled in circles. And let's change that shape from a not filled in circle. So I clicked on shape here. Let's change it to an X. So now I've changed. So by doing that, I changed my mark type from automatic to shape. And then what I did was I clicked on shape, and I could change from here. So I could do an X, I could do a star, I could do an actual star, I could do a plus mark, I could do an arrow. I could even, if I wanted to, click on more shapes, and I could actually do different icons. So let's pretend it's not, but let's pretend this was like a weather map of some sort. I could put, let's say, rain. I could make it, let's hit okay. And now I got like little umbrellas and things like that. I could also actually just create my own icon. So if that's something that you're into, you certainly could do that as well. But I'm going to keep with the filled. I'm actually, I think, going to make them diamonds, just to make it a little bit different. And then what I think I'm going to do, just for kicks, I'm going to change this, and see, I don't have the shape available when I have it in automatic. So I'm going to change it to shape again for the other one. And I'm going to make that, I'll make that X's. So now I've got X's, actually, I'm going to go back to this one because I feel like X's and diamonds are too close to each other. So I'm going to keep the X and we'll keep the circle on the second one. So I could do that. The other thing that I can also do in my color area is I could do a halo around it. So I'm just going to pick black. So now, you know, I can actually highlight things more if I want to. So I'm going to do that too. Again, you may not want to do this with your particular visualization. I'm just doing it for illustration purposes, just so you can kind of see, you know, what you actually can do. You want to give like some thought into it so that it ultimately will make sense to you. And then what we want to do is maybe, and actually we've got the size on this one based on the sum of order total. Maybe for the second one, we'll go in and we'll make it, we'll make it maybe not measure values. No, we don't want that one, sorry. We'll do, actually, I guess we'll keep it with no, number of items. So we'll do number of items. Again, these are very, very similar to each other. So it's not going to be too much different. And then maybe, and I'm going to get rid of this guy here. And then maybe I want these ultimately to actually be on the same graph. So what I'm going to do here is click under the second longitude. I'm going to click dual axis. And what that does is it brings them together. And unfortunately, because they're very similar, you can see that the X is kind of hovering over here. So actually, if I take that second one that we had made, the shape, the circle, let me just make it a not filled in circle so you can kind of see. So you can see like now they're not quite the same. And again, theoretically, you would pick a data point where these would be completely different. And so that's an example of what you can theoretically do with the geographics. Also, let's say instead of the sum being in size, maybe I want to pull that into color instead. So let me pull that back out. And that was the sum of the number of items. Let me pull that into color. And so, and we don't want shape, we want automatic. And so now things look a little bit different, right? So now I've got that dual axis, they're layered on top of each other. And again, this isn't particularly meaningful, but you can pull the two graphs, you know, ultimately together on that, in that sense. I can also change the layering on them so that way one is above the other. I can also certainly do that as well. And again, what you're going to want to do, which I'm not going to do right this moment, is I'm going to, you know, change my sheet name and, you know, fix all of that sort of stuff so that all of that potentially makes sense. So I just want to make sure that I showed you a little bit about the geographic piece. What I'm actually going to do next in the next tutorial is go through, it'll be a fairly lengthy one, but I'm actually going to go through really everything that we've encompassed in all of these tutorials together with a completely new data set that you haven't seen. And so this one will be saved in your Google Drive as all-encompassing video tutorial data set. So you'll see that one being completely separate. So we're going to just start completely from scratch on the next tutorial.